Talk to me about skills, because skills are quite an important thing in the video games, aren't they? So how has that been brought to the tabletop?
Yeah, you're certainly right. They're hugely important in the video games, and they really are how players interact with the world around them, both in the video games and in RuneScape Kingdoms. We don't have quite as many skills as there are in the video games. We've shortened the list down a little bit and put some of them into the expansions. We have a list of these 8 skills that players can gain experience in and level up over time. And skills are really how players achieve things in the game, whether they want to craft material or gather resources or achieve an objective for the campaign. They really are how you interact with everything that's going on here.
So you mentioned that there's more skills in the video games. Which ones have you actually chosen to bring to the tabletop?
So instead of having attack and strength, we've compressed those into melee together. We also have ranged and magic. We also have defense, thieving, gathering, and cooking. Now, gathering isn't a skill in the video games, but gathering is it's a classification of a number of skills that have been compressed together. Like this skill is a type of gathering skill. So we have gathering as a skill to represent a number of different things, farming, for example.
Sure. So to simplify, trying to track all of those skills on the tabletop, you've amalgamated some of them together and selected which ones make the most sense for the board game mechanics.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, sure. So I think you mentioned leveling up the skills as well. How does that work?
So whenever you use a skill at all, you use that with a skill test, which I'll talk about in a moment. But whenever you take a skill test, whether you pass or fail that test at all, you're gaining experience, because people gain experience whether they succeed or fail when they're attempting something. And each time that you use a skill, you'll gain an experience token. So let's say that I'd taken a skill test for a melee, and I would add an experience point into melee. Once you've added 3 experience tokens into melee, you can take those tokens away and you've added a whole other skill level. It's important to get skill levels higher up because they then make you more likely to succeed in skill tests. And skill tests are how you interact with everything that's going on around you.
Okay. How high can you go with skills? Is there a ceiling or?
So in the video games, you can go up to level 99 in each skill. You can theoretically do that in the board game. You won't be expected to do that very quickly. It takes a while to get through, and you certainly don't need to get all the way to level 99. But if you want to for prestige regions, you absolutely can, yes.
Okay. And you mentioned you were going to talk about how you take a skill test.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you interact with the game board, you'll be flipping over cards, and they'll often give you skill tests to take. So for example, if we flipped over this event card and we interact with a drunken dwarf who throws a stone at you, you're going to be presented with 2 numbers and a symbol in the middle. The symbol in the middle tells you what skill you're taking the test in. So in this case, it's defense. The first number there is telling you the complexity of the skill. So let's say that I have level 2 in defense. Because my skill level 2 is equal to the complexity, I'd roll 2 dice at the skill test. If I had less than 2, I'd roll only 1 die because I'm not as likely to succeed. And if I have higher than skill 2, I'd roll 3. So the higher your skill level is, the more likely you are to get to roll those 3 dice. Why that's important is because of the second number. That's the number you actually want to roll on one of those dice. So for Drunken Dwarf, that would be you need to roll an 8. So if I have more dice, I have mathematically more chance of rolling an 8 or higher to see if I've succeeded in the skill test.
So it's not cumulative. It's not like you add the totals of the dice together. Is it that 1 dice has to?
That's correct. Yeah, one die gets the number that you want is a success on the skill test.
Okay, so rolling more dice just basically gives you more chances, basically.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, interesting. So there's a reason to level up your skills, but probably not all the way to 99.
Yeah, you don't have to go that high. I mean, the Drunken Dwarf here has a complexity of 2. As long as you're higher than 2, you'll roll 3 dice. Whether you're skill 3 or skill 99, you'll still roll those 3 dice.
And do the skill tests get more difficult as you sort of progress through the campaigns?
Yeah, so the game actually sort of gently encourages you to get higher up in the skill levels as you go for this very reason. You don't have to, because you always get to roll at least 1 die at it if you want to just be a little bit more gung-ho, but it's encouraged that you will. And also, as I mentioned, every time you take a skill test, whether you pass or fail, you'll be gaining experience points. So even if you're failing skill tests, you're still gaining experience in those skills as you go along.
Okay. And is there any sort of rhyme or reason as to why I might want to level up particular skills? Is it good? Should everyone just be aiming to go across the board, or how do you choose what to focus on?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of different things. One is the game will intentionally challenge you across all of your skills. That doesn't mean that everyone should be skilling in everything at once. Because you're playing a cooperative game, it's perfectly fine for me to go, I'm, say, the melee character, and I will skill my melee levels up. You might go bigger for magic or for cooking and those other things. Between your group, it's encouraged that you should try and skill up across all of your skills together, because you'll need them at some point as you're going along. I think we mentioned earlier that there are campaign boards that are forming the overarching overarching narrative to a campaign and give you that sort of defined start and end point. It actually on the campaign board gives you recommended skill levels to reach to pass those targets. So sometimes a particular objective will say you must have this level in, say, defense or cooking to achieve this objective. So say when you speak to Morgan in the first objective for the Vampire Slayer campaign, you have to have at least level 1 in defense. Other times there are recommended skill levels. So when it comes to the boss fights towards the end of the campaign, it doesn't say you have to have these skill levels to take the boss fight on, but it's certainly much easier if you've achieved level 3 in melee, ranged, crafting, and magic.
Sure, so you can use the campaign board as a sort of like guiding principle as to, and maybe it'd be good to have a discussion at the start and sort of talk about what people are going to focus on, or you know, I guess maybe it also could happen organically as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's intended to give you sort of talking points through the game to go, okay, how are we going to achieve what we need to achieve with the game, and whether we should take risks or not with the recommended levels. Whether you want to go, we have to achieve this because it's recommended, or we'll just see how it goes by going through it.
Cool.